In recent Star Wars news, the Rey movie just lost another screenwriter. That was Stephen Knight. Backed out. And I know that by the time this video goes out, I'm gonna be a Johnny-come-lately when it comes to this news topic, but that isn't the point of this video. How many Star Wars movies have been announced since 2015/2016 that have either been reworked into Disney Plus shows, Book of Boba Fett, anyone? Or have been delayed indefinitely like the Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron movie? There hasn't been a Star Wars movie in theaters since 2019's Rise of Skywalker. Star Wars has been relegated to streaming shows only at this point. Daisy Ridley has been making statements in the press about how the new Rey movie, being dubbed Star Wars New Jedi Order, that the press/fan media has been deeming as, oh, this movie's going to be Star Wars Episode 10. Ooh. I'm not here to debunk any of those rumors. I am here to argue why it is a bad idea to announce these types of movies in the press without any clear plan for them. And I have 3 arguments for why this is such a bad idea. The first reason for why announcing these movies in the press is a bad idea is that it sets unrealistic expectations. Look at these statements that are now being made about the Rey movie with Daisy Ridley, is that, oh, it's going to be Star Wars Episode 10. Okay, let's play some hypotheticals. Let's say that this Rey movie actually does happen for by some miracle, right? The next Star Wars movie to release in theaters is the Rey movie, and it's called Star Wars New Jedi Order. It's not called Star Wars Episode 10 New Jedi Order, but the press and the fan media all over has been dubbing it as, this is Star Wars Episode 10, and this is going to set up a brand new trilogy. No. The Rey movie is just going to be a one-off. The Rey movie is just going to be some one-off, and there's really no plan for a trilogy because Daisy Ridley only agreed to come back for one movie. And that leads right into my second talking point, in that it sets up audiences for disappointment. Imagine how disappointing it's going to be that you're not getting Star Wars Episode 10 with this new Rey movie, that's going to just be some one-off called Star Wars New Jedi Order that may or may not lead to a new trilogy. It's like what happened with the Rian Johnson Star Wars trilogy. Like, there are, believe it or not, there are actually fans of Star Wars The Last Jedi, Star Wars Episode 8 The Last Jedi. And those people want to see Rian Johnson's new Star Wars trilogy, and they keep coming out in the press. Oh, the Rian Johnson Star Wars trilogy is going to keep happening. It's going to keep happening. It's going to keep happening. But you only hear about that trilogy maybe once every year, once every other year, and they keep reassuring the fans, oh, this Rian Johnson Star Wars trilogy is going to happen. We pinky promise. We just need to wait for him to be done to be done with the Knives Out Benoit Blanc movies. But Rian Johnson Star Wars movies are absolutely happening, and then those movies never come out, despite years upon years upon years of build-up. Imagine all of the disappointment that sets up audiences for, and then the audiences will rightfully express their disappointment, where it's like, hey, you've been setting up this Rian Johnson trilogy for years and years and years and years, keep teasing us with it, but yet nothing is coming out. What the hell's going on? And then you can have Lucasfilm, in theory, I want to stress in theory, can then start coming out and start decrying the audiences as man babies. And it doesn't even be Lucasfilm itself. It could even be the press, where they decry these fans that want the Rian Johnson Star Wars trilogy as a bunch of crybabies that don't understand, that, quote unquote, don't understand how the world works, and not everything has to cater to them, blah, 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 blah. While conveniently ignoring the fact that the Rian Johnson Star Wars trilogy had been building, that the hype had been building for years and years and years and years, and you hear about it either every year or every other year, and now all of a sudden, it's been, they probably don't come out and just outright cancel the movie. They didn't do that with Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron. What Lucasfilm did with Rogue Squadron was they just delayed it indefinitely what that basically means that is like, that's normal speak for, yeah, this movie is being canceled, don't ask us about it. So why would you build up all this hype in the press for years and years and years to then come out and say, yeah, you know what, we're not actually doing this trilogy, because people are then going to be upset, and they're going to launch criticism at both Rian Johnson and Lucasfilm, again, for better or for worse. And then you're going to have the fan media, you're going to have, the mainstream sites like Hollywood Reporter or Variety coming out and decrying all these people as man babies. This isn't good for the press outlets to do this, and neither is this good for Lucasfilm. And the third and final reason for why it's a bad idea to announce movies in advance with absolutely no plan is that it makes Lucasfilm look really bad for delaying these productions indefinitely. Like I brought up in the very beginning, how many Star Wars movies have been announced since 2015, 2016 that never came to fruition? Does anyone remember the Boba Fett movie that was supposed to be directed by Josh Trank? And Josh Trank was very publicly fired from that movie. Granted, the Boba Fett movie did get transformed into a Disney Plus show, but for a long time, it looked like that the standalone Boba Fett movie was dead in the water. You had Patty Jenkins's Rogue Squadron is now delayed indefinitely, and that was after the failure of Wonder Woman 1984. I almost forgot the sequel, the sequel to Wonder Woman. But yeah, after Wonder Woman 1984 absolutely bombed, and we can sit here and debate all day long why that movie bombed. I think a big reason for that was because it released day and date in theaters and on HBO Max. But still, you have Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron delayed indefinitely. Does anyone remember when Benioff and Weiss, the showrunners from Game of Thrones, were going to head up a Star Wars trilogy? Where's that? Oh, that's right. Benioff and Weiss's Star Wars trilogy got delayed indefinitely. So Lucasfilm has had a history of, they will bring on these showrunners and these hot directors from either the independents or big time guys. Like, people forget, like Rian Johnson made a huge splash with the movie Looper back in 2012. So it made sense to try to attach him for Star Wars. Again, Benioff and Weiss were the showrunners behind Game of Thrones. Patty Jenkins was the director of Wonder Woman, the only DCEU movie that everybody seemed to like. And then all of a sudden, Rian Johnson's trilogy, we hear about it every year, every other year. I just brought this up, but it seems to be going nowhere. Benioff and Weiss's Star Wars trilogy has basically died. It's probably never going to happen. And then you have Rogue Squadron, after the disappointment that was Wonder Woman 1984, has been delayed indefinitely. How does any of this benefit Lucasfilm? Right, they come out, they do all these big announcements, they throw everything at the wall to get hype going in the press, and then within just a year or two, all of a sudden, you either never hear about these movies again, or they have to come out and say that the project has been delayed indefinitely. And I'm going to go ahead and end the video off with this. Star Wars is not the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Marvel got away with announcing so many movies on their slate because of the goodwill that they built up with the fan base over a period of years. Marvel has made it very clear that all of their movies are interconnected. And Star Wars was inspired by the Flash Gordon type serials of the 1930s. What happens if you miss Chapter 6 of Flash Gordon Conquers the Universe and you can't go back to the theater until Chapter 7 comes out? Well, it's okay, because each chapter was set up to be viewed on its own. You don't need to watch chapters 1 through 6 to watch chapter 7. You can just jump right into chapter 7. Because you need to remember that serials were made in a time before television. A lot of these series go back to the 1930s. To interconnect all of these Star Wars movies together is to change the identity of Star Wars itself. Turning Star Wars into the MCU is what is currently bringing it down, in my opinion. Lucasfilm would be better off planning, Star Wars episodes 10, 11, and 12, and not announcing them until filming is close to being started, or filming has already wrapped on episode 10, and they're promising that episodes 11 and 12 are going into production right now. Look how Marvel and Sony announced Spider-Man 4. And I did a whole video on this about how the Spider-Man 4 announcement just proves how desperate Disney, Marvel, and Sony are for a hit movie. But anyway, let's actually objectively look at how Marvel and Sony announced Spider-Man 4. Tom Holland announced that filming is going to start in summer of 2025. And then Disney and Marvel gave the movie a release date a day later of July 4th, 2026. That's how you handle announcing movies, because now the fans know that Spider-Man 4 is absolutely happening. But with all these Star Wars movies getting announced year after year after year after year, now the fans are throwing their hands up and just going, well, you know what? With regards to this Rogue Squadron movie, with regards to this Benioff and Weiss movie, with regards to this Rey movie, I'm gonna believe it when I see it, because I have been let down so many times by all these movies being announced and nothing coming beyond the announcements.